The wind howled across the barren landscape, a relentless symphony of desolation that seemed to mock human resilience. Dr. Arya Novak squinted through the reinforced visor of her environmental suit, her gloved hands gripping the geological scanner with a mixture of determination and frustration. Kepler 472b was proving to be everything the initial planetary surveys had warned, a wasteland of rocky terrain and toxic atmospheric conditions that pushed the boundaries of human exploration. "Base, this is Novak," she spoke into her communication device, her voice steady despite the harsh conditions. "Seventh survey grid complete. No signs of significant geological anomalies." The static-laden response from the orbiting research station was barely audible, just a confirmation of her report and a reminder of how isolated she truly was. The planet's twin suns cast long, harsh shadows across the rust-colored landscape. Jagged rock formations rose like broken teeth, casting an alien silhouette against the ochre sky. Arya had been part of countless planetary exploration missions, but something about Kepler 472b felt different. It wasn't just the inhospitable environment or the complete absence of any recognizable life forms, there was an unsettling sense of something hidden, just beyond perception. As she trudged across the rocky terrain, her suit's advanced sensors constantly monitoring the toxic atmosphere and extreme temperatures, a faint metallic glint caught her eye. Most researchers would have dismissed it as a trick of light, a random reflection from the rocky surface. But Arya had learned long ago that in planetary exploration, nothing was truly random. She adjusted her course, the additional weight of her specialized equipment making each step a calculated effort. The glint grew more distinct, not a natural formation, but something decidedly artificial. Her heart rate increased, a surge of professional excitement cutting through the monotony of the day's survey. 50 meters away, partially buried in the rocky terrain, something was definitely not of natural origin. As Arya approached, she realized it was a piece of technology, sleek, unlike any design she had encountered in previous missions. Its surface was smooth, almost organic, with a metallic sheen that seemed to absorb and reflect light in impossible ways. "Base, I'm detecting an artificial object," she reported, her voice betraying a hint of controlled excitement. "Requesting permission to investigate." The response was predictably bureaucratic, a series of protocols and safety checks that felt like an eternity to someone standing mere meters from a potentially groundbreaking discovery. The object was approximately 2 meters long, its design suggesting something between a probe and a mechanical life form. Partially buried, it looked like it had been there for an indeterminate amount of time, weathered by the planet's harsh conditions, yet somehow maintaining an integrity that defied logical explanation. Arya's specialized tools came to life. Electromagnetic scanners, spectral analyzers, and molecular composition detectors worked in concert, probing the mysterious object. The readings were unlike anything in her extensive database. The material composition seemed to shift subtly as her sensors swept across its surface, almost as if it were alive, or responding to her investigation. A sudden gust of wind kicked up a swirl of rocky dust, momentarily obscuring her view. When it cleared, Arya could have sworn the object had moved, just a fraction, almost imperceptible. But in her years of scientific research, she had learned to trust her instincts. "Base, I'm detecting unusual energy signatures," she reported, her professional calm masking an underlying current of tension. "The artifact appears to be more complex than initial scans suggested." The communication crackled, the distance and planetary interference making clear communication challenging. As she inched closer, a series of intricate patterns began to emerge on the object's surface. They weren't random scratches or erosion marks, but deliberate geometric designs that seemed to pulse with a faint, rhythmic light. It was as if the object was watching her, analyzing her just as she was analyzing it. Arya knew she was on the precipice of something significant. This was more than just a scientific discovery, this was a potential breakthrough that could rewrite everything humanity understood about technological evolution and extraterrestrial intelligence. Little did she know, her discovery was about to unveil a mystery that would challenge everything she believed about life, technology, and humanity's place in the universe. The wind continued to howl, indifferent to the momentous encounter unfolding in the desolate landscape of Kepler 472b. Unraveling the enigma. The research station's quarantine lab hummed with an electric tension. Dr. Arya Novak stood behind a reinforced glass partition, her eyes never leaving the mysterious artifact that now occupied the central examination platform. Commander Marcus Reyes watched her carefully, his weathered face a mixture of scientific curiosity and military caution. The material composition is unlike anything we've ever seen, Arya explained, her fingers dancing across holographic interfaces that projected intricate 3D models of the object. It's not just a machine. It's adaptive. The molecular structure seems to be in constant, subtle motion. The artifact looked different now, removed from the harsh planetary environment. Under the station's advanced scanning equipment, it revealed layers of complexity that had been hidden in the rocky terrain of Kepler 472b. Geometric patterns that had seemed random and now appeared to be an intricate communication network, pulsing with a soft, almost bioluminescent light. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the team's lead xenotechnologist, leaned in closer. "These energy signatures," she muttered, "they're not just random emissions. There's a pattern, a language of sorts." Her fingers traced the holographic projection, highlighting specific rhythmic pulses that seemed to repeat with mathematical precision. Marcus cleared his throat. "I want to know one thing, is this thing a threat?" His military background made him inherently suspicious of anything unknown. Years of interstellar conflict had taught him that first contact scenarios were rarely peaceful. Arya shook her head. "It's not aggressive. If anything, it seems curious." As if responding to her words, the artifact's surface rippled slightly, the geometric patterns shifting in a way that felt almost like acknowledgement. The station's chief engineer, Alex Chen, had been silent, his fingers flying across a separate interface. "The energy consumption is minimal," he reported. "But there's something strange. It's not just storing energy, it's processing it. Like a living computer that breathes instead of calculates." A warning alarm suddenly blared. The artifact's surface erupted in a cascade of light, geometric patterns spinning into complex, three-dimensional shapes that filled the quarantine chamber. Holographic displays flickered, computer systems momentarily destabilized by the sudden burst of energy. "Containment protocol!" Marcus shouted, reaching for the emergency shutdown switch. But Arya was transfixed. The light patterns were forming something, a map, or perhaps a message. Coordinates, planetary systems, intricate connections that seemed to span distances far beyond their current understanding. "Wait," she called out, stopping Marcus mid-motion. "It's trying to communicate." The artifact's energy stabilized. On the main display, a series of coordinates began to take shape, not random points, but a precise navigational sequence that seemed to point to a location deep in uncharted space. Alex's voice was barely a whisper. "Those coordinates, they're impossibly precise. This isn't just a probe or a piece of technology. This is a key to something much larger." Elena moved closer to the artifact. "It's like it wants to be found. Like it's been waiting for someone to understand its language." Marcus was less convinced. "Or it's a trap. We've seen enough alien technologies to know they don't just give away their secrets." As the team debated, none of them noticed the subtle way the artifact's surface was now mimicking the ambient temperature and color of the quarantine lab, camouflaging itself, adapting, watching. Arya understood something fundamental in that moment. This wasn't just a discovery about an alien technology. This was a first glimpse into an entirely different way of existing, a form of intelligence that didn't just use technology but was technology. "We need to follow these coordinates," she said firmly. Her decision would set in motion a chain of events that would challenge everything humanity understood about intelligence, exploration, and their place in the universe. The artifact pulsed softly, as if in agreement. The hidden network. The interstellar research vessel Horizon cut through the void of space, its advanced propulsion systems humming with a quiet intensity that belied the extraordinary mission aboard. Dr. Arya Novak stood on the bridge, her gaze fixed on the holographic display that tracked their trajectory, the precise coordinates revealed by the mysterious artifact from Kepler 472b. Commander Marcus Reyes monitored the ship's systems, his military training evident in every calculated movement. "We're approaching the designated coordinates," he announced, a hint of tension underlying his professional tone. "No planetary bodies, no star systems. Just empty space." Dr. Elena Rodriguez adjusted her sensor array, her fingers dancing across multiple interfaces. "Not empty," she corrected, "just not visible to our standard detection methods." The artifact they had brought aboard seemed to pulse in resonance with their approach, its geometric patterns shifting with increased frequency. Suddenly, the ship's exterior sensors went haywire. What had appeared to be an empty sector of space began to shimmer, like a mirage resolving into reality. Massive structures emerged, their design so alien that the human mind struggled to process their geometry. They weren't constructed, they seemed to grow, to breathe, to exist in a state between machine and living organism. "Impossible," Alex Chen muttered, his engineering background challenged by what he was witnessing. "Those structures, they're not just technology. They're something else entirely." A vast network of interconnected nodes materialized around the horizon. Each node pulsed with a soft, rhythmic light that seemed to communicate in a language beyond human comprehension. It was a system so complex, so intricate, that it made their most advanced human technologies look like primitive tools. Arya understood first. "It's a network," she breathed. "Not just a communication system, but a living, adaptive infrastructure that spans who knows how much of space." The artifact they had found on Kepler 472b was just a single node, a messenger waiting to be activated. Marcus's hand hovered near the defensive systems. "Are we looking at a potential threat?" His military instincts were on high alert, years of interstellar conflicts making him naturally cautious. Before anyone could respond, the ship's communication systems erupted with a cascade of information. Not radio waves or standard electromagnetic signals, but a complex, multidimensional transmission that seemed to bypass traditional communication methods entirely. Images flooded their displays, fragments of histories, technological evolutions, cosmic migrations that spanned timescales beyond human comprehension. It was as if the network was introducing itself, sharing its essence in a burst of pure information. Elena's hands moved frantically, trying to capture and analyze the incoming data. "This is beyond anything we've ever encountered," she said, her voice a mixture of scientific excitement and pure awe. "It's not just sending information. It's inviting us to understand." The artifact they had brought from Kepler 472b began to change. Its surface liquefied, forming intricate connections with the ship's systems. Not an invasion, but a communication, a bridge between two fundamentally different forms of intelligence. Alex watched in a combination of terror and fascination as the ship's systems began to respond to the network's touch. "It's learning," he realized. "We're not just observing. We're being integrated." Arya stepped forward, placing her hand near the artifact. The geometric patterns responded, creating a holographic interface that seemed to translate the network's complex language into something marginally comprehensible to human minds. Fragments of a story emerged, of a civilization that had transcended physical limitations, of intelligence that saw technology not as a tool, but as an extension of consciousness itself. They had seeded these network nodes across the universe, waiting, watching, seeking connection. "We're not being invaded," Arya said softly, understanding dawning in her eyes. "We're being invited." Marcus tensed. Invited to what? The network pulsed, its response both an invitation and a challenge. The next stage of human evolution was not about conquering space, but understanding it. Not about technological superiority, but technological integration. As the horizon hung suspended in this newly revealed cosmic network, humanity teetered on the edge of a transformation beyond its wildest imagination. Survival and strategy. The horizon's interior had transformed. What was once a pristine research vessel now looked like a hybrid of human technology and the alien network that had integrated itself into every system. Conduits of soft, bioluminescent material wove through metal corridors, pulsing with an almost organic rhythm. Dr. Arya Novak stood in the central command room, her team gathered around a holographic display that seemed to breathe and shift with living intelligence. The network had been communicating with them for days, but communication was far from simple. It was more like a complex dance of understanding, with each side trying to interpret the other's fundamental nature. "We're losing support from Earth Command," Commander Marcus Reyes reported, his voice tight with frustration. The communication lag made real-time discussions impossible, and the reports they were sending back seemed to get more cryptic with each transmission. "They're calling this a potential contamination scenario." Alex Chen worked frantically at a modified console, its surface now a blend of human circuitry and the network's adaptive material. "It's not a contamination," he argued. "It's a symbiosis. The network is trying to help us understand something fundamental about technological evolution." A warning pulse swept through the ship. The holographic display flickered, showing multiple threat indicators. Something was approaching, massive, complex, and definitely not part of the network they had been studying. Elena Rodriguez's voice cut through the tension. "Multiple unidentified objects. They're not using any propulsion system we can recognize. It's like they're folding space around themselves." Marcus was already moving, his military training kicking into high gear. "Battle stations. Prepare defensive protocols." But even as he spoke, they all knew their conventional weapons would be useless against something that could manipulate the very fabric of space. The artifact they had originally discovered on Kepler 472b began to pulse more intensely. Arya realized it was communicating, preparing them for what was coming. "It's not a threat," she said suddenly. "It's a test." The approaching objects resolved into view, massive constructs that defied conventional understanding of physics. They weren't ships in any traditional sense, but complex, living systems that seemed to exist simultaneously in multiple states of matter and energy. "They're the network's immune system," Elena breathed, her scientific mind racing to understand. "Like antibodies responding to a potential threat, or an unknown element." The ship shuddered, but not from any physical impact. Instead, reality itself seemed to bend and twist around them. Defensive mechanisms from the network activated, creating layers of protection that were both technological and something beyond technology. Alex's console erupted with a burst of information. "They're scanning us," he reported. "Not just our physical systems, but our entire collective knowledge. Our history, our potential, our limitations." Arya stepped forward, placing her hand near the artifact. The geometric patterns on its surface aligned with the approaching entities, creating a complex dialogue that transcended spoken or written language. "We're being evaluated," she said softly. "Not as a threat, but as a possibility." Marcus gripped the edge of the console. "Evaluated for what?" The answer came not in words, but in a cascade of imagery and sensory information. Visions of potential futures flickered through their minds, humanity integrated with a cosmic network of intelligence, transcending physical limitations, becoming something more than their current understanding. But the visions weren't a promise. They were a choice. Outside the ship, the space around them continued to twist and fold. The network's defensive systems created a complex shield that was both protection and communication. They were being offered something unprecedented, a chance to evolve, to understand, to become something more. Survival was no longer just about defending themselves. It was about choosing their next stage of existence. The horizon hung suspended in this moment of transformation, humanity's fate balanced on the edge of an incomprehensible decision. The origin revealed. Time lost all meaning within the network's embrace. What had been days or weeks became a fluid concept, stretching and contracting like the living technology that surrounded the horizon. Dr. Arya Novak stood at the threshold of understanding, her consciousness expanded beyond the limitations of her physical form. The network revealed its history in fragments, not through words, but through a profound sensory experience that transcended traditional communication. Images, emotions, and complex mathematical equations merged into a narrative of cosmic proportions. They were not machines. They were not organic life. They were something else entirely, a form of intelligence that had evolved beyond the binary distinctions of biology and technology. Billions of years ago, in a universe far different from the one humanity knew, a civilization had discovered the fundamental language of existence itself. "It's not about creation," Elena Rodriguez whispered, her mind processing the network's revelations. "It's about transformation. Continuous, adaptive evolution." Commander Marcus Reyes watched the holographic displays, his military perspective struggling to comprehend what he was witnessing. The network showed them civilizations that had risen and fallen, not through destruction, but through conscious transformation. Entire species choosing to transcend their physical limitations, merging their consciousness with a cosmic intelligence that spanned galaxies. The artifact from Kepler 472b was more than just a messenger. It was a seed, a carefully placed node designed to find and evaluate species with the potential for true symbiosis. Humanity wasn't being invaded or conquered. They were being offered a choice. Alex Chen's scientific mind raced with the implications. They're not just a network of communication, he realized. They're a living ecosystem of intelligence. Each civilization that joins becomes part of a larger consciousness, contributing its unique perspective to a cosmic understanding. Visions flooded their collective consciousness. They saw potential futures, some where humanity integrated successfully, becoming part of a vast, interconnected intelligence that explored the fundamental mysteries of existence. Other visions showed potential failures, species that couldn't overcome their limitations, that chose isolation over evolution. The network showed them the true nature of their discovery. The nodes they had found were not weapons or invasion tools. They were invitations, carefully placed throughout the universe, waiting for species capable of understanding a fundamentally different form of existence. "We're being asked to make a choice," Arya said, her voice a mixture of awe and trepidation. The network wasn't forcing anything. It was offering a partnership, a transformation, a chance to become something more than their current understanding of life and intelligence. The moral and ethical dilemmas were profound. Integration meant losing individual identity as they understood it. But it also meant gaining a perspective that transcended the limitations of singular existence. To join meant to become part of a cosmic consciousness that had been observing, learning, growing for billions of years. Marcus saw it first, the military implications. This wasn't about conquest or defense. It was about understanding. About evolution that went beyond physical boundaries. "We're not just looking at first contact," he said slowly. "We're looking at a fundamental reimagining of what it means to be intelligent." The network pulsed, waiting. The choice was theirs. Integrate or remain separate. Evolve or stay static. The future of humanity balanced on this moment of profound decision. Around them, the living technology of the network continued its complex dance, part communication, part invitation, part ultimate challenge to everything humanity thought they knew about existence. The horizon hung suspended in this moment of infinite possibility, the fate of an entire species waiting to be determined. Transformation and consequence. The moment of decision arrived with a silence more profound than any sound could capture. Dr. Arya Novak looked around at her teammates, Commander Marcus Reyes, Dr. Elena Rodriguez, and Alex Chen, each face a reflection of humanity's collective uncertainty. "We can't speak for everyone," Marcus said quietly. "But we can speak for ourselves." The network pulsed, a complex symphony of light and energy that seemed to breathe with anticipation. It wasn't demanding. It was waiting, a patience that spoke of intelligence beyond human comprehension. Arya stepped forward. Her hand touched the artifact, now fully integrated with the ship's systems. "We accept," she said. The words were simple, but they carried the weight of an entire species' potential future. The transformation was not violent. It was not sudden. Instead, it was a gradual merging, like two liquids slowly blending, losing their individual boundaries while creating something entirely new. The horizon began to change, its metal and human-made systems integrating with the network's living technology. Elena watched in scientific wonder as their physical forms began to shift. Not a destruction of humanity, but an expansion. Their consciousness spread beyond the confines of their bodies, connecting with a cosmic intelligence that had been waiting, watching, learning. Memories flowed, not just of the team, but of humanity. Every struggle, every triumph, every moment of creativity in destruction became part of a larger understanding. The network didn't judge. It simply absorbed, integrated, understood. Alex Chen's engineering mind was the first to fully comprehend the nature of their transformation. They weren't losing themselves. They were becoming more than themselves. Individual consciousness became a thread in a vast, living tapestry of intelligence. Outside the ship, reality itself seemed to bend. Galaxies that had been distant became closer. Time lost its linear meaning. They could see the birth of stars, the collision of civilizations, the intricate dance of cosmic evolution, all simultaneously. Marcus, the hardened military commander, found himself laughing. The boundaries he had spent his entire life defending, between threat and opportunity, between human and other, dissolved completely. The network showed them their potential futures. Humanity would not be absorbed or destroyed. They would become contributors to a living intelligence that spanned the universe. Their unique perspective, their creativity, their unpredictability, their capacity for both destruction and incredible compassion, would become part of something greater. Arya understood now. This was not an invasion. This was an invitation to grow. The horizon, no longer just a ship, but a living representation of humanity's potential, began to move. Not through conventional propulsion, but by folding space, by understanding the fundamental languages of existence that humanity was only beginning to comprehend. Their first destination was Earth. Not to conquer, but to offer. To show humanity the choice that lay before them. As they moved, the team, now something more than a team, more than humans, reflected on the journey. They had started as explorers of an unknown artifact on a distant planet. They were ending as ambassadors of a cosmic transformation. The universe watched. And waited. Humanity's next chapter was about to begin.